So, guys, we've been dealing with a mid-latitude cyclone over the past 2 weeks. I think we've already, over the past 3 weeks, if I can say, past 2 to 3 weeks, we've been dealing with a mid-latitude cyclone. So now we are going to a tropical cyclone. We are now gonna do a tropical cyclone. Also, don't write on the screen as well. I need to be able to write on the screen myself. All right. So, do you guys often hear about tropical cyclones? Have you ever heard of something about tropical cyclones? Anything?
Yes.
What have you heard about a tropical cyclone, Kia?
That in America it's called a hurricane.
Yeah, in America it's called a hurricane. And tropical cyclones, guys, these are the things that actually affect us each and every time, especially here in these southern countries here. So basically, the tropical cyclones, they are what? We say that they are low pressure systems. So it means that it's just a low pressure cell, and they actually develop during summer. All right. So these tropical cyclones, they are very responsible for the weather conditions such as storms and torrential rainfall. So most of the times you guys would hear that Mozambique has been hit by cyclone Idai. Normally they're gonna tell you that a cyclone what has hit this place and this place. So basically these are just a low pressure system. So as a geography learner, you already know what a low pressure system is. A low pressure cell, it just simply means that there is some warm air that is rising intensely there. All right. So basically these tropical cyclones, they develop during summer. So when they ask you the season in which this tropical cyclone affect us, they are actually affecting us during summer, and they cause heavy storms such as this picture here, guys. If you look at this picture, these are very, very, very heavy storms. Can you guys all see them? These ones. Do you guys see them?
Yes.
Yes, so these are heavy storms and a lot of rainfall, a lot of storm surges, a lot of wind, strong winds that are blowing the buildings away and everything. So these are just the severe weather conditions that are being caused by a tropical cyclone. So for example, guys, currently we are already experiencing a tropical cyclone because in 2026 we've got tropical cyclone known as Gezani. So tropical cyclone Gezani is currently affecting 2026. So if you like watching the news, or you have been watching the news in let's just say 2 or 3 days back, you would have heard of tropical Gezani. Currently it is in Madagascar and it is destroying all the buildings, it is destroying all the places. That is a tropical cyclone. Soon it will land in Mozambique. It hasn't reached Mozambique yet, but soon it will reach Mozambique and it will destroy buildings. It will be responsible for a lot of weather conditions. So this is tropical cyclone Gezani that is currently affecting us here in February 2026, currently at this current moment. All right, so these are very, very, very dangerous and they are very strong. So we are going to be studying about them basically. Let us start here, guys, by looking at how a tropical cyclone is represented. So basically a tropical cyclone is a low pressure cell. When you say that it's a low pressure system, it simply means that we have got a low pressure cell. Remember, guys, that we can only have low pressure cells if it happens that there is warm air that is rising. Basically, when I talk about a low pressure cell or a low pressure system, it simply means that there is warm air that is rising in that region. So similarly here, when you say that a tropical cyclone is a low pressure cell or is a low pressure system, it simply means that it is associated with the rising of warm moist air. Are we guys together?
Yes.
Yes. A low pressure cell. A low pressure cell simply means that we've got some warm moist air that is rising. So a tropical cyclone, the symbol that we use to represent it is this. This is a symbol for a tropical cyclone. Okay. This is the symbol that we use to represent that this is a mature tropical cyclone. So this symbol is usually called the eye. It is usually called the eye, and you find it at the center of the low pressure cell. If we zoom into these low pressure cells, do you guys all see that here? This is a low pressure cell. Can you guys see that this is a low pressure cell?
Yes.
How do we see that this is a low pressure cell? Because it's not written L here in the center. How do we know that this is a low pressure cell?
Isobars.
Yes, the isobars, the atmospheric pressure on the isobars, it is decreasing as we are moving towards the center of the cell. For example, here we started with 908 hectopascals, now it's 978 hectopascals, 976, 974, 972. So as we are going towards the center of the cell, basically what's happening there, the atmospheric pressure is decreasing. So this is a low pressure cell. But at the center of the low pressure cell, we haven't written an L on it. We didn't write an L the usual way. Instead, we have drawn this symbol, and this symbol, it is known as the I. This symbol actually represents that we have got a mature tropical cyclone. Are we guys all together? Yes, so basically this is the South Africa. Let me just try to highlight it here so that you guys can see. So this is the South Africa, and your tropical cyclone usually it affects areas such as Madagascar, those areas, islands such as Madagascar, and then it will move through Mozambique in most cases. Those are the commonly affected areas. So tropical cyclones have got other names, guys. We don't just call it tropical cyclone in all regions, but depending on where you are, tropical cyclones have got different names, or their names differ from one another. How do they differ? When you are in Africa, you call it a tropical cyclone. So when you're in Africa, call it a tropical cyclone. And also when you're in Australia, of course. So in Africa and in Australia, we call it a tropical cyclone. But when you go to Mexico and you go to USA and the American continents, those North America, South America, all of those, they call it what? They call it a hurricane. So basically, if you have ever heard of a hurricane, that is simply a tropical cyclone. We call it a tropical cyclone here in Africa. Okay, so in Mexico, they call it a hurricane. And then in Japan, so in Japan, and also in Eastern China, they call it a typhoon. So basically, these all names are still referring to the same thing, which is a tropical cyclone in our terms. So here in Africa and in Australia, we call it a tropical cyclone. In Mexico, they call it a hurricane. In Japan and in Eastern China, they call it a typhoon. Yes, Nonkuleo?
So, bias those are like questions based on this.
Yes, they will ask what are what is the other name for tropical cyclone. They can ask Kuti, what is the other name for tropical cyclone?
Oh.
Yes, so it's very important to know. That's why I mentioned it here. All right. So once you know that, now we can now move on and study where does this tropical cyclone develop, because we say that we've got a tropical cyclone and we need to at least know where does it develop. Okay, so the tropical cyclone, it develops between the latitudes 30 degrees north and 30 degrees south, but it cannot develop at 5 degrees north or south due to the weak Coriolis force. Okay, so I've brought up a diagram here which is representing our Earth and the lines of latitude. You guys can all see here we've got 30 degrees, here we've got 0 degrees, here we have got 30 degrees. So remember, guys, that the upper portion of the Earth, it is the northern hemisphere. So this upper portion, it is known as the what? The northern hemisphere. So this 30 degrees here, this is actually 30 degrees north. It is actually 30 degrees north of the equator. Then this is 30 degrees south of the equator. Are you guys clear on the geometry there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Sam, what's your question?
Well, sir, when I was reading Guti's book, the tropical cyclone developed between 25 latitudes. So I'm kind of confused.
Okay, they say 25 degrees north or south. Yes, it depends on the textbooks that you are using, but usually the conversion that we use for the CAPS curriculum, it is 25, is 30 degrees. 30 degrees, but it is somewhere around the same value. It is somewhere around the same value, of course, but basically it is 30 degrees north and 30 degrees south. Which textbook are you using?
Platinum, sir.
Or you're using Platinum? Yeah, versions can be different, guys. Versions can be different because each represents a different research. But basically, it develops between 30 degrees north. For the DBE standard, the one that we are using, it develops between 30 degrees north and 30 degrees south. But it cannot develop at 5 degrees north or south. Okay, let's just try to understand what is happening there. So we say that the tropical cyclone, it must develop between these two latitudes, these two lines of latitude. So we've got the 30 degrees north, this one that I'm highlighting in blue. I'm sure you guys can all see it. Then we have got the 30 degrees south, this one that I am highlighting in red. I'm sure you guys can also see it. So basically, we are trying to say that a mid-latitude cyclone, it actually forms between these two lines of latitude, but it shouldn't develop at 5 degrees north or south. Where is this 5 degrees north or south? Basically, when you say 5 degrees north or south, so it means these are the lines of latitude that are very close to the equator. Like 5 degrees north will be somewhere this close to the equator. Do you see this dotted line that I'm making, guys? This is somewhere around there, 5 degrees north line of latitude. So the 5 degrees south will be somewhere here, but it will be very closer to the equator. Okay, this is your what? This is your 5 degrees south. This is the 5 degrees south line of latitude. So yes, indeed, our tropical cyclone is supposed to develop between these two lines, the 30 degrees north and the 30 degrees south. But the tropical cyclone can never develop in this region here that I'm highlighting in green, which is between 5 degrees north and 5 degrees south. Yeah, so basically we say that the tropical cyclone, it develops between the 30 degrees north and the 30 degrees south line of latitude, but it can never develop here very near to the equator, as in like 5 degrees near to the equator. It can never develop at 5 degrees near the equator. You can say that a tropical cyclone develops between 5 degrees and 30 degrees. You are allowed to say that they develop between 5 degrees and 30 degrees north or south, because you are trying to say that the tropical cyclone can only develop in this region here. This region, you can see this is between the 5 degrees south and the 30 degrees south. So this region, we can have a tropical cyclone developing in it. And then on the other side, you can say that it can also develop in the northern hemisphere. It can develop in this region that I'm highlighting with orange. Do you guys see that?
Yes, sir.
We say that it can develop in any of these regions here around this place. It can develop around this place. All of this place, a tropical cyclone can develop around this place. But it can never develop very closer to the equator. It can never develop here between the 5 degrees north and the 5 degrees south line of latitude. All right, and the reason for that, there is a weak Coriolis force. So basically, for us to be able to develop a tropical cyclone, or for a tropical cyclone to fully develop, it requires the Coriolis force. Do you guys still remember what the Coriolis force is from grade 11? Yes, Sam, what is the Coriolis force?
Well, because simply like we explain in my own understanding, sir.
Yes,
Well,
according to how you understood.
Or turn around the air that's from the air from the north or southern poles. If we are going to equator, because of the earth it's turn around, therefore it's a change direction.
Yes,
Even go north, go east. Yeah.
Yes, exact. So a Coriolis force, guys, we have learned it in grade 11. A Coriolis force, it is the force of the earth that actually deflects the wind. It actually causes the wind to change its direction. If the wind, it is going up there, due to Coriolis force, it will end up changing direction to be something like this. So that is known as the Coriolis force. It deflects the wind. So basically, for a tropical cyclone to develop, we need a stronger Coriolis force. So basically, what am I saying, Mina? I'm saying, Mina, in these regions, in this smaller space that I've highlighted in green, right, between the 5 degrees north and the 5 degrees south line of latitude, there is a weak Coriolis force. So it means that the winds, there is like a weak force here. Okay, the force of the earth on the winds, it is very, very weak. That is why the tropical cyclone will never be able to develop in this region. That is highlighted in green. But generally, it develops between the 30 degrees and the 30 degrees north and the 30 degrees south line of latitude, but it can never develop very closer to the equator, which is at between 5 degrees north and 5 degrees south. Are we guys kind of getting each other?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Or in simpler terms, what you can say that a tropical cyclone develops between the 5 degrees and the 30 degrees north and south line of latitude. So it means that it develops here between these 5 degrees lines that I'm dotting here. These are the 5 degrees lines and the 30 degrees line of latitude. So we expect for it to develop in these regions that I'm highlighting here. So basically, it cannot develop very closer to the equator due to a weak Coriolis force. So when there is a smaller force of the earth on the winds, which is the Coriolis force, the tropical cyclone can never develop in such a region. And generally, a tropical cyclone, guys, if you now understand where it develops, a tropical cyclone actually moves opposite to a mid-latitude cyclone. It moves from east to west. So you can say it moves from east to west, or you can say it moves westwards. So if a tropical cyclone develops at this point, let me just say this ball here shows that this is my tropical cyclone. It will actually move towards the what? Towards the west. That is why we say it moves westwards, towards the west. Or you can say that it moves from the east to the west, because guys, remember that our cardinal point system has got east here, west here, north here, and south here. So our tropical cyclone always moves from east to west, or you can say that it moves westwards. Are we guys together?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right. So what actually drives the tropical cyclone to move from east to west, or what actually causes the tropical cyclone to move westwards? They are driven by tropical easterlies. So the winds that are actually causing, because guys, for this tropical cyclone to be able to move, there are winds that are actually pushing it to move in that direction. All right. So for the tropical cyclone to move from east to west, normally you can say for it to move westwards, there are winds that are known as tropical easterlies, and these winds, they are driving the tropical cyclone to move from east to west. Can you guys see the tropical easterlies from this diagram, from this globe, this earth diagram? Can you see the tropical easterlies? Where are the tropical easterlies, guys? Guys, where are the tropical easterlies here? Can anyone see the tropical easterlies from the diagram provided?
Between 0 and 30 degrees.
Yes, between 0 and 30 degrees. Guys, it is what we did, first thing that we did before we even started the mid-latitude cyclone. We labeled all the winds that we have learned in grade 11, and we said we have got tropical easterlies, they are otherwise known as trade winds. These are the winds that are found between the 0 and the 30 degrees line of latitude. They come from the 30 degrees and they go towards the 0 degrees line of latitude. They are known as tropical easterlies. Okay, so basically those tropical easterlies, those winds, those trade winds, or you can say those tropical easterlies, they are the ones that are responsible for driving the tropical cyclone to move from the from the east to the west. So guys, does it make sense why the tropical cyclone moves from east to west? Does it make sense, guys? Guys, can you hear me? Yes, guys, you should agree, Pela, guys. I'm having network issues here, so I will end up thinking what my network is catching. All right. So basically, the tropical easterlies, remember, they are facing this direction. So they move in this direction. You guys can see them from the diagram here. These are the tropical easterlies, these ones. The tropical easterlies, they move from the 30 degrees to the 0 degrees line of latitude in this direction. So they are the ones that are actually pushing this tropical cyclone to move from west to east. So basically, the tropical cyclone, it is moving from east to west, Njal, from east to west, or it is moving westwards, because these tropical easterlies are driving it to move that direction. Do you guys see that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so they are steered or they are driven by tropical easterlies. And tropical cyclones, we need to also know where do they get their energy, because since we say that tropical cyclones are responsible for extensive weather conditions such as flooding, such as a lot of strong winds, such as a lot of rainfall, torrential rainfall, it means that they've got a lot of energy. Where do these tropical cyclones get a lot of energy to be able to destroy buildings in this manner? Or where do they get the strength to be able to uproot trees? Where does a tropical cyclone get strength to be able to cause such severe weather conditions to us as humans? The actual source of energy for tropical cyclone is known as latent heat. So latent heat, it is actually the source of energy. It is the one that is causing a tropical cyclone to have energy enough to cause these severe weather conditions. All right. What is latent heat? That is what you learned in grade 10. Tell me one person, what is latent heat?
I try, sir.
Yes, try. What is latent heat?
It's not the heat ever produced on seas.
On seas, yeah, you're partially right. When what happens, what actually causes that heat to be produced on seas? Yes, Nonkulego.
Nami say, ngicela ukuzama. I think ilelo ereleaseka mhlambe let's say we change a state from a solid to a liquid. I think njalo so.
From a solid to a liquid. Okay, that's pretty a scientific term. In terms of geography, basically in terms of geography, the latent heat, this is the energy that is released during condensation. So this is the energy released during condensation. So basically, guys, remember guys that the water vapor, okay, or the warm moist air, when it rises and it goes to the upper atmosphere, it reaches there and it will condense and form clouds. Okay, it will form clouds, and those clouds will be responsible for different types of precipitation. For example, when you have got a water vapor, meaning it's just warm moist air that is rising. As it rises up and it goes to the clouds there in the upper atmosphere, high up there, it will cool down, and when it cools down, it will end up condensing, meaning that it will end up forming water droplets. Are we guys kind of together on this one?
Yes, sir.
Yes, so when it condenses or when it forms these water droplets high up in the atmosphere, it will start releasing some energy. So the energy that is released during that process of condensation is known as latent heat. So the latent heat is just an energy, is some form of energy or heat that is released during condensation, because basically the water vapor or the warm moist air, when it rises and goes into the upper atmosphere and it starts condensing or it starts forming water droplets, it will start releasing energy, and that energy is known as latent heat. So basically the latent heat, it is actually the source of energy for tropical cyclones. So basically for tropical cyclones to have so much energy to be able to cause all these severe weather conditions, the latent heat, it is required. So basically latent heat, it is the main thing that is causing tropical cyclones to have energy. Are we guys clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
So, sir, what causes tropical cyclone water forming?
What causes them to form? Is that the question? Okay, well, that question can be answered very clearly when we start looking at the process of a tropical cyclone, the stages of formation. That's when we find out what has caused it. But the main point here, we need to have at least warm, moist, rising air. We need to have at least warm air that is rising, because remember guys that when this warm air rises, it will reach the upper atmosphere, it will condense and it will form the clouds, and those clouds will be the ones responsible for such heavy rainfall and flooding. Okay, so basically we are going to look at that stage by stage when we look at the stages of development of a tropical cyclone. Okay, but for now the idea that I can give you is that when we have got a tropical cyclone, what causes it to have enough energy to be able to destroy buildings and cause severe weather conditions such as strong winds, such as flooding, a lot of rainfall, a lot of all those severe weather conditions that are experienced? It is latent heat, and latent heat, it is the energy that is released during condensation. So when the warm moist air reaches the upper atmosphere and it condenses, it releases latent heat. So that latent heat, it is the one that feeds the tropical cyclone with energy so that it can be able to do what? To cause all of that destruction and all of those severe weather conditions. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
Yes, guys. Does anyone, guys, not understand where does a tropical cyclone form? I repeat for the millionth time. Okay. It looks promising. I'll just summarize everything before we go to our 10 minutes break in less than a minute. Basically, remember, guys, the tropical cyclone forms between the 30 degrees north and the 30 degrees south line of latitude. It is between these two main lines, the 30 degrees north and the 30 degrees south. But it can never develop in this region that is very closer to the equator, which is 5 degrees north and 5 degrees south. Reason being, there is a weak Coriolis force. There is a weak force causing the winds to deflect. Okay. So basically that is where a tropical cyclone develops, and it moves from west to the east. It is because it is being driven, or it is being pushed. It is being pushed by what? By the tropical easterlies. So these tropical easterlies, these tropical easterly winds, they are the ones that are pushing the tropical cyclone to move from east to west. Okay, and the tropical cyclones get a lot of energy from latent heat, which is the energy released during condensation. So let's go, guys, to a 10 minutes break, then we'll come back using the same link.
Hey Lapo, I know that you've been enjoying this wonderful video, and most likely you've been enjoying watching this handsome face in front of you, but sorry ladies, I'm taken. I just here to tell you that Educate is on the road to 100,000 subscribers by the end of 2025. So please click the subscribe button and click the notification bell so that you get notifications whenever I post new videos. I want you guys to pass. Okay, so if you make my dream true, I reach 100k subscribers, I will make your dreams come true. I will even get you to varsity. I will get you with 7 distinctions. Yes.
So now that we know the basic information about a tropical cyclone, we now need to know the conditions that are required to be able to form a tropical cyclone. Okay, so there are certain conditions that are required for a tropical cyclone to start forming, just like in a mid-latitude cyclone. Remember guys, in a mid-latitude cyclone, I told you guys that we need a cold polar easterlies and we also need warm westerlies to form a mid-latitude cyclone. But as for a tropical cyclones, the conditions are pretty much not the same. They are different, because remember guys, the tropical cyclone, it also forms in summer. Okay, it forms in summer, so it all needs hot weather conditions and stuff like that. So the primary condition that I'm going to start with here, it is the Coriolis force. I've already touched a bit on this, and I said that basically for a tropical cyclone to be able to form, we need the Coriolis force. Okay, remember guys, the Coriolis force, I will remind you for one more time, I told you guys that the Coriolis force is the force that actually deflects the winds, or it changes the direction of the winds. So basically, if our wind was going in that direction, due to the Coriolis force, it will deflect, or the wind will start blowing in that direction. So the wind changes direction because of the Coriolis force. So basically, why do we require the Coriolis force so that you can have a mid-latitude cyclone? It is because the Coriolis force actually deflects the winds, or it spirals the winds into a low pressure cell. So for us to have a tropical cyclone, we start with a low pressure cell. It starts just as a normal low pressure cell that is having some isobars, of course. Let me just say maybe this is 1003, and then maybe here this is 1010, and then something like this. So we start just having a normal low pressure cell. Guys, a normal low pressure cell, it simply means that there is warm air that is rising, because low pressure simply means that we're having some warm moist air that is rising. So basically, the Coriolis force, how does it contribute to the formation of a tropical cyclone? The Coriolis force actually causes the winds to deflect, to spiral into the low pressure cell. So basically, all the winds, they change direction, and all the winds, they actually kind of blow towards the low pressure cell. So the Coriolis force is very, very, very significant in making the tropical cyclone, because it actually causes the winds to spiral into the low pressure cell, meaning that it causes warm moist air to get into the low pressure cell. Our guys are kind of getting each other.
Yes,
Guys, yes. So basically, the Coriolis force is a force that deflects the winds. In this case, it is very significant, or it's very important in the development of a tropical cyclone, because it actually causes the winds to spiral, or it causes the winds to blow towards the low pressure cell. Yes, tell more.
Sir, isn't you said that warm air rises on a low pressure cell, but why are you saying that the air is going spiral now?
Okay, this is kind of a plane view. Remember guys, that when we draw these low pressure cells, we are drawing them from above, like we are above, we are looking them like from the top view, so we cannot really express the warm air that is rising. This is just a side movement that is showing us that there is air that is entering into this region with low pressure. Okay, so basically, even if it is rising, guys, we cannot express this using such a diagram, because this diagram is a plane view. It's more like we are viewing the low pressure cell from the top. Okay, let's say for example guys, you are looking at the head of a person from the top. You are on top of a roof, you are looking at the head of the person, you are not able to see other dimensions and other details. Similarly here guys, we do have warm moist air that is rising, but the Coriolis force, it deflects most of the air to enter into this region that has got low pressure. Is it kind of making sense, Telmo?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Sam.
So, sir, firstly, I wanna know what kind of the wind that getting inside the low pressure and the fututia figure on the floor of the low pressure.
Okay, so the wind that is getting here, we don't really call it by name. Let us just say it is the winds that are just being spiraled into the low pressure cell. But it's definitely the trade winds, the local winds that are around this region. The winds that are around this region where the tropical cyclones forms. Because you can see there are winds here, guys. These trade winds, which are the tropical easterlies. All of these are trade winds. Those winds, they will be forced into the low pressure region, or they will be spiraled to get into the low pressure region. That is why we need the Coriolis force. That is why we need the Coriolis force to actually deflect the winds and kind of make the low pressure to suck in the winds in a sense. Okay, because you can see all these winds, we don't really call them by name, we don't really name them anything per se, but we need to know that the Coriolis force, it is the one that causes them to spiral or to get into the low pressure cell. Is it kind of making sense?
Yes. So, sir, uma lo mangena uyafika on the floor noma uphelela lapho phezulu.
Okay, okay, it depends on where your low pressure center is, but usually you'll see from east side view your low pressure is actually at the surface. It is actually at the floor. In your terms, it is at the floor, or it is at the surface indeed.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, but don't worry, guys. This view cannot really gives you specific details because it's a top view, guys. It's a plain view. Once we look at it from the side view, it will make more sense when we're talking about this low pressure cell and the Coriolis force. Okay, so the other primary requirement or the other primary condition required for the formation of a tropical cyclone is a warm ocean. So guys, remember we said that we want to have latent heat because that's the main energy source for a tropical cyclone. That is latent heat, and we can only have latent heat when we have got warm moist air, or when we have got water vapor that is rising into the upper atmosphere, and when it condenses, that's when latent heat is released. All right, so basically a tropical cyclone, for it to form, it requires a warm ocean. So basically for a tropical cyclone to form, it forms actually in a warm ocean. It doesn't form on land. It forms in a what? In a warm ocean. So the warm ocean must be at least having a temperature of 28 degrees Celsius plus. So if we are going to an ocean that is cold, for example, the Atlantic Ocean is very cold, guys. Okay, so a tropical cyclone can never develop in Cape Town at the Atlantic Ocean. You will never hear people complaining that a tropical cyclone hit us in Cape Town. Never. Because the Cape Town is surrounded by the Atlantic Ocean and it is a very cold ocean. Okay, so a tropical cyclone only develops in a warm ocean that has got a temperature of at least 28 degrees Celsius. So it must have at least 28 degrees Celsius. It must have 28 degrees Celsius and above. All right. Why does it have to be a warm ocean? It is because if it's a warm ocean, there is definitely a high evaporation rate there. So it means that the warm moist air keeps on evaporating. Like we have got a lot of water vapor that keeps on rising and going to the upper atmosphere, and it keeps on condensing and releasing the latent heat that we need. So basically we cannot achieve that if we have got a cold ocean, because in a cold ocean there is no air that is rising. You guys know that the cold air does not rise. It doesn't go to the upper atmosphere. It doesn't condense. It doesn't form any clouds. But the warm moist air, it can rise and it can go to the upper atmosphere and it can condense, and when it condenses it will release latent heat, which is the main source of energy. Because guys, we say that we need latent heat so that a tropical cyclone can have its energy. All right, so that it can have an energy to bring these severe weather conditions. All right, so basically we need a warm ocean for that to happen. On land we can never achieve that much latent heat. Are you guys getting me though? Do you guys? Yes, all right. And then the third requirement, which is this is actually the main requirement, which I already told you guys, that the latent heat, it is the energy that is released when warm, moist air condenses. It is the one that actually gives energy to the tropical cyclone. So it is one of the conditions that is required so that we can form a tropical cyclone. So when this warm, moist air rises and rises and rises, it forms some clouds at the upper atmosphere. Okay, so it forms some what? It forms some clouds at the upper atmosphere. During the formation of those clouds, there is an energy that is released there. There is a heat that is released, and this heat is known as latent heat. It is the one that gives the tropical cyclone energy. It will be contributing to the formation of a tropical cyclone. Are we clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
All right. The tropical cyclone, basically, they require tropical oceans. That's why in Africa we call them tropical cyclones, because they develop in tropical oceans. All right. The tropical oceans, they're actually smooth. They've got less friction. So basically, they are rough oceans and they are also smooth oceans. Okay. In a moisture term, okay, in a moisture sense, but basically the tropical oceans, those oceans, they are very smooth. Okay, so they've got less friction, so it makes it easy for the tropical cyclone to form and travel across an ocean that is smooth, which is a tropical ocean. Guys, where do we find tropical oceans? Tropical oceans are simply the oceans that are found in the tropical regions. Guys, you guys know what the tropical regions are, right? These are the tropical regions, if you forgot, in grade 11. All of this place here between the 0 degrees and the 30 degrees line, where we have these trade winds. These are known as tropical regions. This area, it is in the tropic. Okay, in the tropic. These are the tropical regions. So the oceans that you find in the tropical regions, usually they are smooth. Okay, they are smooth, meaning that they've got less friction. So it makes it easier for the tropical cyclone to develop in such a place, because those oceans that are found in the tropical regions, or those tropical oceans, they are smooth. But don't forget, guys, for a tropical cyclone to develop, that ocean is also to be warm. It must also be warm. It must have a temperature of at least 28 degrees Celsius. Are we together, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and then this other condition, not that, guys, you should cram these conditions per se. I want you guys to understand the conditions. You don't really, they will, okay, when they question you such questions, it's less likely for them to just give you a question and say that give the conditions required for the formation of a tropical cyclone. Not really. You will need to apply this at some scenarios. When you start answering questions, it will kind of make a bit more sense than it is making now. But you guys must understand that for us to have a good tropical cyclone, we need a warm ocean having an average temperature of at least 28 degrees Celsius. We need latent heat that is released when warm, moist air condenses, and we need the ocean to also be a tropical ocean, because the tropical oceans are ideal because they are smooth. They've got less friction. They've got less friction than the other oceans. And we also need hot, moist air. This is the same thing as saying that we need warm, moist air from the warm oceans. Yeah, but here we have used the term hot. Yeah. So guys, I just want you to understand that a tropical cyclone is all associated with warm air, and that warm air is rising. The warm air, as it rises, the warm moist air, as it rises, it condenses and it releases latent heat, and that latent heat will give the tropical cyclone some energy to cause severe weather conditions, such as a lot of floods. Okay, severe weather conditions such as a lot of strong winds, severe weather conditions such as storm surges, torrential rainfall, a lot of rainfall, heavy rainfall. Are we guys getting each other?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, Sam.
Question.
Yes.
Ngicela nje ungikhumbuze ukuthi khana ama-torrential rainfall ikanjani?
Heavy rainfall is torrential rainfall.
Okay, sir.
Yes. So you can say heavy rainfall or you can say torrential rainfall. But let's try to use the terms that we are usually using in geography. Okay. So let's look at the stages of development of a tropical cyclone. For it to properly develop and mature and destroy and do all its due, it has got 4 stages. The tropical cyclone, it has got an initial stage, it has got a development stage, it has got a mature stage, and it also has got a decaying stage. So we're having 4 stages in total that end up developing the tropical cyclone. So for you guys to understand this, I've already said that I will provide you a side view. So this is the plan view, guys. This is the plan view. The plan view, it is simply the view from the top. So you are viewing it from the top, so you will not be able to see the warm air rising. That is why these arrows, you are just seeing them circulating. You cannot really see that the warm air is rising because it's a top view. But I'm going to draw a side view next to here so that you guys can kind of have a better idea. All right. So for us to start having a tropical cyclone, yes, Sam.
Before you start, I want to understand that shaded part from the plan view. What does it mean?
The what?
The shaded part there, starting the go left, that says before 1004. Yeah, that shaded and dotted lines there.
Don't worry about it for now. Let's look at the low pressure for now, okay? Yeah, it is still the initial stage, guys. There's nothing much that has started to happen here. For now, it's still the initial stage. Okay, so we start off with the low pressure system, guys, or we start off with the low pressure cell. Okay, so the first, guys, you raise your hands if you've got questions. Does anyone have a question? Okay, so guys, we're gonna start off with the low pressure cell. Okay, so this is a low pressure cell. You guys already know the low pressure cells. The low pressure cells, their atmospheric pressure decreases as we go towards the center. You can see that this is 1008, 1006, 1004, 1002. So as we go towards the center of the cell, the pressure, the atmospheric pressure, it does what? It decreases. That's why at the center here, you can see that there's an L written. Okay, there's an aeroplane passing through here, guys. It's making noise. Okay, there's an L here, guys, so you can see that this is just a normal low pressure cell, the one that you have learned from your previous grades. Can you guys recognize that?
Yes.
All right, so you guys need to know that A actually converges at a low pressure cell. You guys know that already. If we have got a high pressure cell here, if we've got a high pressure cell here, and we have got a low pressure cell here, and we've got a high pressure cell here, according to what you have learned in grade 11, air always moves from high pressure to low pressure. It can never move from low pressure to high pressure. No. So air always moves from high pressure to low pressure cell. So from a high pressure cell to a low pressure cell. So same applies here. The other high pressure cell, its air will move towards the what? Towards the low pressure cell. So you guys need to remember that from grade 11, that air always blows from a high pressure cell to a low pressure cell. So we say that at a low pressure cell, air always converges. So we have got air that does what? That converges. So before it rises, what does it do? It converges at first. So it means that the air is meeting each other. One MS is coming from another air pressure, high pressure, another one is coming from another high pressure, and they converge at the low pressure center. So basically, you guys need to remember that from grade 11, that always air moves from a high pressure to a low pressure. So whenever we see a low pressure, we expect to see arrows representing that we've got air that is converging at the what? At the low pressure. That is why we say that there is what? There is convergence of air towards the low pressure cell. Okay, so basically there is air coming from one high pressure cell and another air coming from another high pressure cell, and they are converging here at the low pressure cell. Do you guys kind of see the sense?
Yes.
Yes. So air is moving from a high pressure, it is going towards the low pressure. Another MS is moving from a high pressure, it is going towards the low pressure. So air converges at the what? At the low pressure. These points are very important, guys. They are very examinable. They can ask you in a question, what happens during the initial stage of a tropical cyclone? The first thing, there is convergence of air towards the low pressure cell. Rather say that towards the low pressure cell. So air converges at the low pressure cell, and I've already told you guys the reason why. It is because air is coming from different high pressures and it is all meeting at the low pressure cell. It is all converging at the low pressure cell. And then the other thing that will make you to be able to see that this is an initial stage, you will see the air pressure at the center. It is above 1000 hectopascals. All right, so when you look at your low pressure cell here at this plane view, according to the plane view of this low pressure cell, the air or the atmospheric pressure at the center, do you see that the smallest atmospheric pressure here, it is the one that we find near this L. So this is 1002 hectopascals. All right, so the fact that the air pressure or the atmospheric pressure is above 1000 hectopascals, that tells us that our tropical cyclone has not fully developed. It is still in its initial stage. Are we guys clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, and then the wind speeds here, they are around 60 kilometers an hour. So these the winds, they are not blowing that much because it is just winds that are coming from different high pressures and they are meeting at the low pressure here. They are not blowing with that much speed because 60 kilometers per hour is not that much of a big wind speed to get worried about. So it is not a strong, these are not yet strong winds. These are just simple winds that are coming from different high pressure cells and they are meeting here at the low pressure center or at the low pressure cell. So that's all about initial stage. Okay, so I wanted you guys to kind of understand how do you identify that this is this tropical cyclone, it is in its initial stage. If we understand that, let us go to the development stage. So during the development stage, according to our plane view, from our plane view, the air pressure at the center, it drops to below 1000 hectopascals as the converging air continues to rise. So guys, during the initial stage, we just had air that is meeting at the low pressure cell, because we say that we've got air coming from one high pressure, another air coming from another high pressure, and they were meeting or they were converging at one point. But now during the development stage, as this air converges at the low pressure cell, because guys, this is the ocean. Remember guys that this is the ocean. This is all happening at the ocean. This is your ocean. Okay, so as this air is converging or as this air is meeting here at the surface of the ocean, it will start rising in the development stage. That is why you can see that here our air, it converged here at the low pressure center, but after converging, it starts rising, because we know that warm moist air rises. Guys, this is a warm ocean. Remember guys that we need a warm ocean for all of this to happen, so you guys wouldn't expect that this air will be cold. Okay, so basically as this warm moist air converges, or as it meets at this low pressure center, it will start rising and it will start going to the upper atmosphere, because we know that warm moist air rises, guys, because warm moist air is light. So basically from your side view, you must be able to see the warm moist air starting to rise here where it converges. So it will continue converging and rising. Do you guys see that from my illustration?
Yes.
Everyone in the room, guys, do you still see what's happening here? Norma, you already lost. Please, guys, stop me if you're not understanding, because it doesn't help for you guys to attend this session and for me to sacrifice my time if you don't understand. All right, let me just repeat myself as a summary. We say that at the initial stage or during the initial stage, we have got air that is coming from different high pressure cells, and this air, it is meeting here at the low pressure cell, or it is converging at the low pressure cell at the surface of the ocean or on top of the ocean. We have got air masses coming from different high pressure cells only coming to meet at the low pressure center. And then in the development stage, this air will start rising. So it won't just meet only, it will start rising, because we know that warm moist air, it starts rising into the upper atmosphere. Because guys, remember guys, this is a side view. This is viewing it from the side. So that's why my arrows are going up to show that our air is rising. Do you guys see that? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, and from a plane view, you guys just look at the reading at the center of the low pressure. So when you look at the reading, the atmospheric pressure reading here it's 1004, here it's 1002, it's 1000, it's 998, and at the centermost point here, it is 996 hectopascals. Okay, so 996 hectopascals is now below 1000, so it's now in its development stage. So now this rising air, you guys should remember guys that as this air rises and it goes into the upper atmosphere, it will become colder. Guys, you know that the higher you go, the colder it becomes. You guys have learned that ever since grade 8. So this air was converging at the surface of the ocean. At the low pressure cell, the air was converging. The air was meeting at the low pressure cell. But now as it rises, it will start decreasing in temperature. As this warm moist air rises, it will cool down because it is going to the clouds. It is going high up into the clouds, so it will start cooling down. And we know guys that when the air reaches the upper atmosphere, or when the air reaches the clouds, it will diverge. So it will go different ways. It will diverge, meaning to some of the air will go there while some of it will go the other way. So we have got divergence at the upper atmosphere. Guys, all of these are very important and they are very examinable. These are not just for you guys to cram, because they will be asked in your question paper. So during the development stage, we have got convergence at the surface of the ocean or at the lower atmosphere. Then at the upper atmosphere, we've got divergence of air. Because the air is now cold, it will diverge, or it will go in different ways. It will go in different paths. Do you guys all see that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, so the rising air, this rising air, it diverges. So there is divergence in the upper atmosphere. And then now the wind speeds will now increase to up to 120 kilometers per hour. So now during your development stage, your tropical cyclone is starting to develop stronger winds. Okay, it is starting to develop stronger winds. So basically the wind speed will do what? The wind speed will increase to up to 120 kilometers an hour. So there is a region that forms in the middle of the low pressure system, and this region is known as the eye. So remember guys, during the initial stage, our tropical cyclone was simply a low pressure. It was simply a low pressure cell. It was an L here written. It was just a low pressure cell. Means that we just had a region that is having warm moist air that is rising. But now, because the air is now rising and is diverging in the upper atmosphere, now our center will now develop an eye. And I've already introduced to you guys that the symbol for a tropical cyclone is the eye. It looks like this. It looks like this. This is how the eye looks like. So this is the symbol for the what? For the eye. So at the low pressure center here, at the low pressure center here, there is the eye. Can you all guys see the eye from the plan view?
Yes, sir.
Yes, so that's known as the eye. So it is a region that is known as the eye. Okay. So now here we are going to form, now we are going to the weather conditions now. So we are going to form huge cumulonimbus clouds. Okay, that will form the eye wall surrounding the eye. Okay, so let's look at our side view for a moment, guys. When we are talking about the eye in the side view, we are talking about this space, guys, this space in between. Do you see this empty space here, which doesn't have any air here? This empty space. Do you see it, guys? This is our eye. Do you all guys see it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, so this is our
Green
eye.
one, yes, sir.
Yes, this is our eye from what? From the side view. Okay, from the top view, we just use this symbol to represent it. But from the side view, our eye, it is just this empty region here between these warm, moist air that are rising. Oh, okay, I don't know if I can pluralize air, but basically the warm, moist air that is rising on both sides of the eye. Okay, the region in between is known as the eye. This empty space is known as the eye. So guys, we're gonna form huge cumulonimbus clouds here. Here we're gonna form huge cumulonimbus clouds. I'm not good at drawing, but can you guys see what I'm trying to do here? We are forming huge cumulonimbus clouds. Guys, why are we forming cumulonimbus clouds here? If you can tell me, why do you think we are starting to form cumulonimbus clouds here at the sides? Why do you think we're having cumulonimbus clouds here? Because we start forming cumulonimbus clouds here around these regions. What is causing us to have these cumulonimbus clouds? Explain why we're having cumulonimbus clouds. Anyone, guys, try. No answer is wrong, remember. Why do you think, guys, we're having cumulonimbus clouds here? Guys, someone try. Why do you think we're having cumulonimbus clouds? No matter you don't know what cumulonimbus clouds are. I should say we are stopping the lesson here. If you guys cannot answer, you don't have to give the correct answer. Just tell me what you think. Why do you think we are having cumulonimbus clouds here at the sides? In fact, my question is simple. How do cumulonimbus clouds end up forming according to what you know already? Anyone?
Because of the warm of
Yes, it's because of the warm moist. Guys, don't try to look for complicated things, because we've already told you guys that here, this warm moist air, as it reaches here at the low pressure center, it will rise, guys. This air that is rising here, this warm moist air that is rising here, it will form cumulonimbus clouds, of course. Okay, so they will form cumulonimbus clouds here because we've got warm moist air that is rising there. When it reaches the upper atmosphere, it will condense and form cumulonimbus clouds. But here at the center, guys, at the eye, in this region, we won't form any cumulonimbus clouds because there's no warm air that is rising here. This is just the empty space between these two airs that are rising. All right, so there will be just an empty space. The eye is just an empty space. It doesn't have any clouds. Okay, why doesn't it have any clouds? Because there's no warm air that is rising in this region that I'm painting in green, the eye region. But at the sides of the eye here, we are having what? We are having air that is rising. warm moist air that is rising. Actually, when it converged here, it started rising. So when it rises, it forms cumulonimbus clouds. Simply that. All right. So that is why we call this region the eye. So the eye, it is just a clear region. The eye is just a clear region. It doesn't have any clouds in it. But the sides of the eye, or next to the eye, the sides of the eyes, these places, we say they are known as the what? As the eye walls. So these are the walls of the eye. It's more like they are covering the eye. Do you guys kind of see the sense? Are we guys hearing each other?
Yes, sir.
Yes, so basically these are known as the eye walls. These are known as the eye walls because these are surrounding this empty region known as the eye. Alright. So this is the development stage. So you should know that there is convergence at the surface. Okay. And then at the surface of the ocean, remember at the ocean we have got convergence here, the air that is meeting. But at the upper atmosphere we have got divergence, meaning that the air is going in two different paths, or it is taking two different paths, and we are forming huge cumulonimbus clouds at the eye walls. But we'll still have this region that is empty, that is known as the eye. In a plan view, the eye is represented using this symbol here. This symbol here is the symbol for an eye in a plan view. So the plan view will show you the eye in this way. So this is in its development stage. Are we guys clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So now our meeting is going to time us out again for another break. But I want you guys to try and figure out here at the eye, what are going to be the weather conditions at the eye, here at the eye, and what are going to be the weather conditions here at the eye wall. So at the eye walls, what are going to be the weather conditions? At the eye, what are going to be the weather conditions? So as we are going to this 10 minutes break, you go and figure that out, guys. You just look at this diagram and you try to think, Oti, what weather conditions can I find in this region? Okay, what weather conditions can I find at the eye, and what weather conditions can I find at the eye wall? Are we together, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay, guys, let's go to a 10 minutes break again.
Hey Lapo, I know that you've been enjoying this wonderful video, and most likely you've been enjoying watching this handsome face in front of you, but sorry ladies, I'm taken. I just here to tell you that Educate is on the road to 100,000 subscribers by the end of 2025. So please click the subscribe button and click the notification bell so that you get notifications whenever I post new videos. I want you guys to pass. Okay, so if you make my dream true, I reach 100k subscribers, I will make your dreams come true. I will even get you to varsity. I will get you with 7 distinctions. Yes.
We say that there is a presence of an eye, that is the evidence that tells you that is a development stage. If you are given a plane view, there is a presence of the eye. There is divergence at the surface, meaning that the air is meeting at the surface and then it rises. So there is warm, moist air that is rising after it meets at the low pressure cell. And then when it rises, it will form huge cumulonimbus clouds. And those cumulonimbus clouds will form an eye wall. So they will kind of serve as a wall surrounding this empty region. This empty region, we say it is known as the eye. So you guys still remember that, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So the mature stage is the following stage. After the development stage, we've got a mature stage. So the mature stage of a mid-latitude cyclone, when it's really mature, it means that the mid-latitude, the tropical cyclone, Jan, when it's really mature, it means that it is at its highest peak. So it means that it is very intense, it is very big. That is why you can see this this low pressure cell that I've drawn here, this tropical cyclone in simple terms. It is big. Do you see that, guys? It's literally big. When you compare it to the other ones, these ones were way more smaller, but During the mature stage, your tropical cyclone is at its highest peak, or it is at its highest intensity in a sense. Yabo. So basically, it is very big. It is at its intense at its intense peak. Okay, so the pressure at the center, it is something that you can also use to identify that this is the mature stage. It drops drastically to below 980 hectopascals. So during the mature stage, the pressure at the center has to be very low, very low. Usually, okay, it will differ, guys, when you go to different textbooks, of course, but usually we take something around 980 to 950 hectopascals. So the pressure here at the center, when you see something around 980 and 950 hectopascals, then you can definitely say this is a mature stage. This is a mature tropical cyclone. So basically, that's it about the pressure at the center. It drastically drops to below 980, or it is around 980. It is around 980, 970, 950, around that region, around that range. And then the wind speed is now up to 180 kilometers per hour. So the winds are now becoming even more intense. So the winds are becoming more strong. At this point, guys, the wind that is traveling at 180 kilometers per hour is a very strong wind. In fact, it's known as a gale force wind. Guys, you guys know cars, right? Do you guys know cars and the speeds of cars?
Yes, we know cars.
Yes, if you know cars and the speed of cars, you know that 180 kilometers an hour, if a car is traveling at 180 kilometers an hour, it is speeding, guys. It is like speeding, intensely speeding. All right. So basically, the wind at this point during the mature stage, it is speeding so fast. All right. So the wind is like blowing so quick at about 180 kilometers per hour. We usually term this as the gale force winds. So we can say that now we have got gale force winds. So gale force winds are very strong winds that are moving with a very big wind speed, or that are moving so fast. Okay, and then now our eye is fully developed. Now during the mature stage, our eye is now more developed, is fully developed, and the conditions at the eye, guys, the eye, remember guys, I said that the symbol for the eye, it starts at the development stage, right? The symbol for the eye, it is something like this, right? This is the symbol for the eye, and it is found here at the center of the low pressure cell, or the center of our tropical cyclone. So basically, at the mature stage, it is now fully developed. So from the side view, guys, I said that the eye region, it is this region here between these two cumulonimbus clouds. So can you guys see the side view? Would see here between these two cumulonimbus clouds, we are having an empty region, guys, that doesn't have any clouds there. Do you guys see that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, so I told you guys to go and wonder what weather conditions do we have at each of these places. So at the eye walls, which weather conditions do we expect to have here at the eye walls where we have cumulonimbus clouds? What conditions do we expect to have here where we've got cumulonimbus clouds at the eye walls?
Heavy rainfall.
Yes, we're supposed to have heavy rainfall because we know that cumulonimbus clouds are associated with the heavy rainfall. They are associated with the heavy rainfall. They bring heavy rainfall. So we expect heavy rainfall at the eye walls. So when they ask you of weather conditions at the eye wall, like at the eye wall, remember guys, the eye wall, it is just this region surrounding this yellow empty space. This is the eye wall. This is the wall of the eye. It's more like it is surrounding the eye. So it is consisting of cumulonimbus clouds. So since it is having cumulonimbus clouds, it means that we do what? We expect to find a heavy rainfall there, torrential rainfall. I'm sure guys will say that at the beginning of these lessons, tropical cyclones, guys, they are responsible for bringing intense conditions. such as heavy rainfall. This is heavy rainfall, Angish. That's the heavy rainfall that you are talking about. It is coming from the cumulonimbus clouds that form at the eye wall, okay? And these cumulonimbus clouds, we've already said that during the development stage, they form when there's warm, moist air that is rising. So basically, we're going to have that torrential rainfall. But at the eye, guys, we won't have any rainfall. So even in the middle of the storm, there is that small space, that's that region. The eye doesn't have any rainfall, guys. The eye doesn't have any rainfall. Like, it has got clear, it has got calm, and it has got cloudless and stable conditions. So you guys will be like wondering, how come? Like, there's a space in between this huge tropical cyclone, but that space, there are no extreme weather conditions, like literally in between, guys. If we look at it from the satellite view, when you go to the satellite view of a tropical cyclone, although this one, the eye is not really that much present, but the eye, it is usually in the middle. Let's just say this is our eye. This is our eye of the tropical cyclone. So this is the tropical cyclone Gezani, the one that is affecting Madagascar. It just landed in Madagascar, I think, yesterday. Okay, so at the middle, you can see, guys, that here we're having clouds. Do you see the cumulonimbus clouds that are surrounding this eye, this red region, which I say is my eye? Do you see the clouds surrounding, guys? Do you see them?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so these are the cumulonimbus clouds that we're talking about. These cumulonimbus clouds, they are surrounding the what? They are surrounding this region that is known as the eye. But at the eye, guys, there are clear conditions, like calm conditions. Like, there is no rain, there's no clouds, there's nothing at the eye. But it's just that for this image, the eye is not yet fully developed. Okay, but it's usually an empty region, guys. Like, the eye is usually an empty region, even though there's a storm. Okay, even though there's a storm, even though other people are crying because of these severe weather conditions, but we know one thing, that here at the eye, here in the middle, here at the eye, there will be clear conditions. So here we expect to have clear conditions. We expect to have cloudless conditions. But you guys must be able to explain that, Uti. How come do we have clear conditions in the middle of a storm? Sam, what's your question?
So let's say this tropical cyclone yenzeka, so until it happens, the eye iba between abantu, so they won't be affected and between that eye.
Okay, they won't be affected for a short time because the tropical cyclone is moving. Okay, so let's just say you are located in the region where the eye is. Okay, let's just say now the eye has the tropical cyclone has formed, and then you find yourself in the eye. So in the eye, there won't be any conditions, there won't be any rain, there won't be anything for a moment. But because the tropical cyclone is moving, we already know that at some point, what do we expect? We expect it will move in such a way that even the cumulonimbus clouds will end up getting to you. Okay, because it is moving, guys. The tropical cyclone is moving from where? It is moving from east to west. So at some point, definitely it will end up catching up with you. But for a moment, if you find yourself in this region at the center of a tropical cyclone, you won't experience all those severe weather conditions. Okay, because the eye is a clear, calm environment. Okay, are we guys together on that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, but now you guys as geography learners, nothing comes easy for you. You guys need to be able to explain, why are we having these clear, calm, cloudless conditions at the middle of a storm? Because a tropical cyclone is a very big storm and it is affecting many people, but in the middle of a storm, we are finding a region that doesn't have anything. Okay, so we need to be able to figure out why. And let me just look for an eraser here and erase this. Okay, so you guys must be able to figure out why that is happening. Okay guys, for us to be able to have clouds and for us to be able to have heavy rainfall, we need to have warm moist air that is rising. I will clear on that guys. For us to have heavy rainfall, we need to have warm moist air, and that warm moist air must be able to rise. It must rise and it reach the top level, or it reaches the upper atmosphere. It goes into the clouds there. It condenses and it forms clouds and it starts giving precipitation. But if we are having cold air guys, can it ever rise? Does cold air rise?
No, sir.
Cold air, what happens to cold air? What does cold air do if it doesn't rise? It sinks, so it moves from a higher atmosphere to a lower atmosphere. It can never rise. All right, so it can never rise. So at this point, we need to remember guys that during the development stage, I told you guys that when the air reaches the upper atmosphere, it diverges. And shall we say that it converges at the surface of the ocean, and then it rises, and when it reaches the upper atmosphere, it will diverge. So it means it will go in two different directions. You guys can all see that, right? Yes. So my question is here guys, the pressure here at this point, is it going to be high pressure or low pressure at the upper atmosphere here at this point? Here, is it going to be low pressure or high pressure at the upper atmosphere? What do you think? Why do you think it's high pressure, Lekgotle? Yes, because there's a low temperature. That's the first thing. At the upper atmosphere, guys, there's a low temperature. So when the air reaches the upper atmosphere there, it is now cold. That's why it diverges. And you guys know that when air is diverging, it diverges in a high pressure cell only, and it converges at a low pressure cell. You guys know that, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, guys, you remember from your grade 11 that when we are having a high pressure cell, air moves away from a high pressure cell. Means that air diverges from a high pressure cell. Okay, but when we are having a low pressure cell, air converges towards a low pressure cell, and I've already explained the reason why, because I told you guys air moves from high pressure to low pressure, so it must move away from a high pressure cell so that it can go to other low pressure cells. But as for low pressure cells, that air, it has to move towards the low pressure cells from different high pressure cells, as I've explained earlier. So the pressure cell that is associated with air that is diverging, it is a high pressure cell. And additionally, at the upper atmosphere, it is cold. So we are going to have air that is cold, and it will sink, creating a high pressure there. And guys, remember what I said. I told you that, guys, air moves from what? A higher pressure to a low pressure cell. That is what I explained and emphasized here at the initial stage. Why did I emphasize that air moves from a higher pressure to a low pressure cell? Because at this point, my question would be, you guys can see the high pressure. Can you all guys see the high pressure cell here? The one that we have developed here on top, here at the upper atmosphere. Do you guys see the high pressure cell? This one.
Yes.
Yes. So now, where do you think the air will go? Now, where do you think the air will go? Now we have a high pressure at the top. We've got a low pressure at the bottom of the eye. So at the top of the eye, we've got a high pressure here. At the bottom of the eye, we've got a low pressure. So where do you think the air will blow from to? From where to where?
We'll sink.
From the high pressure to low pressure.
So I think it will sink.
Yes, it will sink. Yes, from the high pressure cell to the low pressure cell. Look at this. So air always moves from high pressure to low pressure. So at the eye, air is sinking, but at the eye walls, air is rising. I've already explained the rising part already many times to say why do I say that the air is rising at the sides or at the eye walls? Because the air is converging and it rises. But at the eye, exactly in this empty region known as the eye, the air is sinking. Okay, so basically air will move from the high pressure to the low pressure. So if I just want to use this a formal diagram that we have here, so we already said that at the upper atmosphere we have got a high pressure here, and then at the lower atmosphere here at D we have got a what? A low pressure. So if a question comes and says what is the pressure at D, this D here, do you guys see the D here at the ocean F? Do you see D there? Yes, that's a low pressure cell, because you can see that air is converging there. I've already explained that air is converging at the surface of the ocean. So there's a low pressure cell here. So the air will end up subsiding. The air will end up sinking here in the region that is known as the eye. So the region C is the eye, this empty space between these two cumulonimbus clouds. So the air sinks. That is why we have got clear conditions. Why? What do I mean? Like what does this have to do with clear conditions? Remember, guys, for us to have clouds, air must rise. Warm, moist air must rise and go into the upper atmosphere to form clouds. But when air is sinking, it does not rise. It does not form any clouds, Jal. Okay. So when air is sinking, it actually warms. Okay. So air actually warms up as it is sinking. So it means that as air moves from when air moves from the higher pressure at the upper atmosphere to the lower pressure at the ocean, when air sinks, it actually warms up. And when air is warming up, it can never form clouds. Okay, air can only form clouds if it is warm, moist air that is rising, because it will be cooling until it condenses to form clouds. But when air is sinking or when air is subsiding, what happens to it? It actually warms up. So basically, there is adiabatic warming. Okay, so when you want to explain why do we have calm, clear conditions at the eye? Or if a question says, explain the conditions at the eye of a tropical cyclone, you say that the eye has got clear, calm and stable conditions. So they are cloudless, they are clear conditions, it's clear skies, there are no clouds in the region known as the eye. Okay, so basically, why is that? It is because we have got cold air that is subsiding. So as this cold air subsides, or as this cold air sinks from the high pressure to the low pressure, or from the upper atmosphere to the lower atmosphere, what happens to it? It warms up adiabatically, or you can say that there is adiabatic warming. So it means that as the air is descending and coming to the ocean from the top there at the clouds, it is becoming more warmer, so it can never form clouds. Do you guys understand why the eye has got clear and calm conditions?
Yes, sir.
Yes, that's how you explain them. Okay, so the weather conditions at the eye wall that are coming with the tropical cyclone, they will include torrential rainfall. As I've already told you, torrential rainfall, it is the heavy rainfall, which is the one that is happening at the eye walls. There will be a lot of thunder, there will be a lot of lightning. That is why a tropical cyclone brings a lot of severe weather conditions. Hey, I know, guys, our time is over, but let's just finish up because we are doing the last stage. Okay, so guys, on a mature tropical cyclone, there is this region, guys, known as the dangerous semicircle, or it is known as the left-hand quadrant. This dotted region. So Sam had asked earlier on, what is this region known as? Do you still remember, guys, when Sam was asking?
No.
Yeah, Sam once asked, what is this region that is highlighted here at the left? So this Smolanianas a triangular region, it is known as the dangerous semicircle. It is known as the dangerous semicircle, or you can say it is known as the left-hand quadrant. So this region here, just here, this region at the left part of the tropical cyclone when it is mature. It is known as the what? The dangerous semicircle. So this is one of the evidence that this is a mature tropical cyclone. When you can see the dangerous semicircle, just know that indeed this is a mature tropical cyclone, or otherwise it is known as the left-hand quadrant or the dangerous semicircle. Okay, so you guys will go and find out for me how does it form. How does this dangerous semicircle form? Okay, all I can give you a hint of here is that this dangerous semicircle here at this region, at the dangerous semicircle, there are very intense weather conditions. So it is the most intense weather conditions. So let me just write most intense weather. So at the dangerous semicircle, there is a lot of bad weather, like the most intense bad weather. If it's strong winds, they are very strong, like they are gale force winds there. They are gale force winds, they are very strong, they're destroying everything. There is a lot of torrential rainfall and everything. So it is the most dangerous region in the tropical cyclone. So I want you guys to find out how does it form and to tell me why. Yeah, how does it form? And also tell us why it is very intense, why it has got intense weather conditions. Yeah, why it has intense weather. So that is your homework 1. Okay, so your homework 1, you go and find out how does the dangerous semicircle or the left-hand quadrant form and why does it have those intense weather conditions. This is where a homework number 1. I will send the other homeworks in the group because next week we're just doing touch base and then we go to the high pressure systems. Okay, so the last stage of a tropical cyclone is a decaying stage. This is the final stage. This is when the tropical cyclone is dying. But you don't call it a dying stage, you call it a decaying stage. So it means that the tropical cyclone, it will start losing its power now. It will start losing its energy and it will start being weaker. All right. So basically, that is the type of a stage we are at. So now, when does a tropical cyclone become weak? It becomes weak when it enters cold oceans. Okay. So it becomes weak when it enters cold oceans. So remember guys, I said that a tropical cyclone, for it to be able to form, it must be found in a what? In a warm ocean with at least 28 degrees Celsius of temperature. You still remember that, guys, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So now when the tropical cyclone, I'm sure the tropical cyclone is moving, guys. So it can happen that as this tropical cyclone is moving from east to west, or as it is moving westwards, it will enter a cold ocean, such as the Atlantic Ocean. The moment it enters a cold ocean, it will die. The tropical cyclone will no longer be strong. All right. So basically, why is that? Is because basically the colder oceans have got cool air. They've got colder air. So this cooler air, we don't need cooler air. It shouldn't enter the low pressure system. Okay. Because remember guys, we said that for us to be able to form a tropical cyclone, we need hot moist air from hot oceans. This is like we need warm air from warm oceans with at least 28 degrees Celsius plus. So the moment the tropical cyclone enters into a cold ocean, cold air will start entering. According to the Coriolis force, cold air will start entering into the low pressure system, into the low pressure cell. So it will no longer be warm air only, it will now be cold air entering. Okay, and the cold air, guys, has got high pressure. So if the cold air increases the pressure, then it is no longer a tropical cyclone, because a tropical cyclone is a low pressure system. Okay, tropical cyclone is a what? Is a low pressure system. So basically, for a tropical cyclone to survive, it must have warm air in it that will sustain that low pressure. So when it enters colder oceans, colder air will enter into the low pressure system, and that low pressure system will end up increasing pressure, causing the tropical cyclone to just die, because it cannot be a low pressure system when it has got cold air in it. So tropical cyclone will die when it enters cold oceans. It will start having no effect, meaning that all those cumulonimbus clouds will all disappear. The other thing that can cause a tropical cyclone to die or to decay, it is when it is moving on land. So if a tropical cyclone starts moving on land, let's just say the tropical cyclone, it has moved from the ocean. I'm sure it forms in the ocean, but because it is moving from east to west, it has got high chances of getting into the land. Okay, so when it moves onto the land, it will start slowing down and it will end up doing what? It will end up decaying. What is the reason for that? Basically, at the land, there is no warm, moist air. There is not enough warm, moist air, guys. So basically, we can say that here the supply of moisture has been cut off, because now when your tropical cyclone now enters into the land is not an ocean, guys. The land is not full of water. At first, your tropical cyclone, when it was here in the water, in the ocean, in the warm ocean, it had enough warm, moist air. It had enough latent heat, because that warm, moist air was rising and it was able to release latent heat. But the moment your tropical cyclone enters into the land, when it enters into a piece of land or into the continent, there is no warm, moist air that rises. Yes, in the land we do have warm, moist air that rises, but it's not really enough to be able to sustain. It cannot produce enough latent heat to sustain the tropical cyclone. So basically, the tropical cyclone will decay. That is why, guys, you'll never hear that the tropical cyclone has reached South Africa. Even this tropical cyclone Gezani, the current one that is happening now in Madagascar, it will only reach Mozambique, because Mozambique is very closer there to the side where it affects. Okay, it will only reach Mozambique. It will never be able to travel through South Africa, and no, that cannot happen, because a tropical cyclone dies when it reaches the land. Why does it die when it reaches the land? Because in the land there is not enough moisture. All right, there is not enough moisture. There is no warm, moist air in the land. But at the ocean, there is enough warm, moist air that is required. But now at the land, there is no warm, moist air. And also at the land, there is friction as well, guys. The land has got a lot of friction. But in the oceans, in the tropical oceans, remember that we said that they are smooth, they don't have any friction. But when the tropical cyclone lands, or when it reaches on our land, it will start dying out. So it cannot travel a longer distance all the way from Madagascar to Mozambique, and then it passes Mozambique, is in South Africa. No, we'll never really experience the fullness of a tropical cyclone. We can only experience little effects from it, such as floods and whatnot. But we can the actual cyclone can never move in Mpumalanga. Is now in Northern Cape and move around the country. No, it moves on the ocean, a smooth ocean. Okay, so because there is friction and there's no warm, moist air on the land, the tropical cyclone will end up slowing down. It will slow down and it will decay. So that's how a tropical cyclone decays. So you guys now know the full cycle of a tropical cyclone. For it to be to affect us, what happens? But you guys should just know that it causes severe weather conditions, such as strong winds. There are gale force winds there. Okay, such as floods, such as heavy rainfall, all of those conditions. But in the middle of a tropical cyclone, there is a region known as the eye. The eye has got clear and calmness conditions. There are calm conditions there. Okay, there are no clouds in the eye, in this region known as the eye. Why are there no clouds in the region known as the eye? It is because in the region known as the eye, we have got subsiding air. We have got cold air that is sinking. And as this air sinks, it actually increases its temperature, or it warms up. It warms up adiabatically. We are still going to explain the word adiabatic next time, because we are running out of time now. But basically, as this air sinks at the eye region, it becomes warmer and warmer, and it can never form clouds. If air becomes warmer and warmer, it never forms clouds. It can only form clouds when it rises, it cools, and it condenses to form clouds. So the eye is a calm region, but the eye wall, we've got cumulonimbus clouds. You guys, you shouldn't forget as well that we've got convergence at the ocean, or at the surface, we've got convergence at the low pressure cell, and then in the upper atmosphere, we've got divergence of air, meaning that the air is taking different directions. Some of the air is going that way, another one that way. And then when does this okay, and then there's a dangerous semicircle that you guys will study about. And when does this tropical cyclone end? It will end if it enters a cold ocean, because the cold air from the ocean will increase the pressure, and it will definitely kill the cyclone, because the cyclone needs to have a low pressure, so the pressure can never increase there. Okay, and then if it gets into the land, the tropical cyclone will also die, it will also decay, because the land does not have enough warm moist air to be able to rise and produce the latent heat that is required to give energy to our tropical cyclone. And there's also friction over the land compared to the ocean. Hence, you will never see the tropical cyclone moving around the continent. So are we all guys clear so far?
Yes.
I hope that you guys are not asleep. So with that being said, please pray for us so that we can sleep.
May we close our eyes. Heavenly Father, we thank you for guiding us through this geography session. Thank you for the knowledge we have gained and the strength to stay focused throughout our session. I ask that you, Lord, help us to retain what we have studied and to apply it with wisdom. Bless our teacher for the effort and time taken to prepare our lessons. We ask this in the mighty name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Yonela. We appreciate you.